selecting a rooftop tent, I went through the whole Sanhema range that Vicoffroad has. And so I'm always trying to keep things fairly low wherever I can. I want to keep that center of gravity down as far as we can. And if you get into some tight spots, you don't want to be having to worry about scraping the rooftop tent through. So I selected the Sanhema Jervis Pro V 2.0, which fits perfectly on the back of a dual cab ute tub. You can sit it down nice and low. I could even make it a lot lower if I wanted to. It works even with the sail plane and doesn't extend too far out the back. You can sleep up to 4 people in it. However, we'll get into that. I think it's more suited to 2 adults. If you've maybe got an infant or something like that, you could squeeze 3 in there, but I think trying to put a family of 4 in there will get a little bit tight, but that's generally the case with all tents. They tend to over-specify the capacity a little bit, but I'm really happy with this. And before we go and set it all up, let's run through what it's all about. Now, these tents are starting to get in the premium range of rooftop tents, meaning that they've got a lot of accessories and construction that's a lot better than the cheaper variants out there. So this has a full aluminium cap on it, rather than the fiberglass or plastic that you get with a lot of the cheaper brands. It's got a full honeycomb insulated floor on it that's fully sealed. It's got a lot of weather sealing, so it's water and dust proof, even when it's folded down and you're in transit. And it comes with a lot of little extras, such as the roof racks on top. You've got LED lighting inside, all those little bits and pieces that add up to provide that little bit of extra flexibility or luxury when you're out and about and camping. Now, the size of it is actually quite compact. So it measures 1500 long, it's 1200 wide, and it's roughly 250 millimeters high. It weighs 78 kilos, which is pretty light in the scheme of things. That's actually not that much heavier than some of the premium Euro rooftop tents, but it's a lot lighter than some of the cheaper brands out there. And when you're putting a lot of weight up this high, the more you can cut down, the better it's going to be. It's got these really sturdy latches that are locking. So you get this key, and it means you can actually lock this. So when you're in transit, there's no danger of it accidentally coming unlatched and popping open, particularly when you're on rough or corrugated roads. And it offers that extra little bit of security. If you're parked somewhere, no one can come through, tamper with it, open it up, and get into the contents that are inside it. So to me, that's a really good thing as well. The roof rails on top, they come as part of the rooftop tent. They're 30 kilo rated aluminium rails, which means you can put a few extra bits and pieces on, even boards, anything like that, some swags if you needed to. But I think this would be a perfect setup to put a big solar panel onto. You can feed it down into your battery and keep you all powered up while you're out and about and camping. But these are a really good addition to have as a standard thing on this rooftop tent. And you can also see up here the textured aluminium finish of the roof cap. It's nice, tough and durable, and you don't have to worry about it cracking or perishing in the weather at all. Hinges are pretty heavy duty, but most importantly, you've got these channels and tracks that you can put other accessories onto the side if you need to. Now, in using this for a few times, I'd actually be inclined to flip this whole setup around. I had it set up so the roof would open on one side, and then I've got my awning here that will open on the passenger side. But I actually think it would work a lot better if this opened up on the same side as the awning. And obviously, if you're going to be doing a lot of traveling with a rooftop tent, you'd have to go down the path of looking at a 270-degree awning. The challenge is trying to get them to work with the roof, how it opens and all that sort of gear. But a 270 awning combined with one of these rooftop tents would be a really, really, really good thing. And then you've obviously got this really heavy duty handle. This is primarily used to pull the roof down once you're doing your final pack up. You can latch it closed and head off on the rest of your trip. Now, the underside of the tent itself is a finished aluminium panel that forms part of the honeycomb insulated floor. And it means that it's all weather sealed underneath. Along with the seals on the side, you don't have all the dust and dirt ingress that you have when you're traveling along those really dusty corrugated roads. So when you get to site, you pop your tent up, it's still all nice and clean inside. You've got 2 rails that run down from one end to the other, and these are what you use to mount the rooftop tent onto your tub rack, onto your roof rails, or whatever you're trying to mount this onto. So now let's go through all the little accessories that you get with this, then we'll get into setting it up and I'll show you how quick and easy it is. This is actually a lot easier than setting up most swag. And because these are so quick and easy to set up, They're reasonably light and compact. They're a great option to have even if you've got a caravan or camper trailer and you're touring around. You can set up a base and then you've still got this so you can go out into all those sneaky little spots, do a bit of exploring, and you don't have to rush back at the end of the day. You can simply set up your rooftop tent. If you've got a few swags for the kids to sleep in, that's good as well. And you've got those multiple different options that you've got when you're out and about. And that really appeals to me because even though this will probably come off and go onto a project early next year, I'm really liking this setup and I love how it works on the back of the ute. So I might be changing my mind on plans a little bit as I've been using this over the last couple of weeks. But we'll go into the accessories now and I'll show you how quick and easy it is to really set this up. Now obviously you get all the mounting hardware to fit your rooftop tent into a number of different situations. And you need to tailor that and work out what's going to work best for you. We've got a tub rack here, so it actually made it really easy to just put these plates that slot into the rails that accept the bolts. So there's a bolt that goes in through into this plate. You run a number of them down each of the rails and then you can fix it down onto whatever you're trying to mount it onto. In our case, this just goes down through our tub rack. We've got some washers and then they give you these turn knobs that simply screw on. So you can actually put this on and off once it's all set up without the use of tools, which is pretty handy to be honest. So you simply wind this on, tighten it all up, and that secures it down to a tub rack, for example. But if you've got cross rails, they also give you these great stainless steel brackets that go through the rail of your crossbars, and then you bolt them down using those sliding plates and the bolts and hardware provided, and then the turn knob underneath to secure it all down. Again, you can put it on and off if you've got crossbars without using any tools once it's all properly set up. So that to me is pretty good and pretty standard with most rooftop tents these days. But it's a little bit of a bonus if you're new to the market, you're hunting around for a rooftop tent. That's what you need to look into as far as mounting. But obviously you need to make sure that everything that the rooftop tent is mounted onto is low rated for that application. So in the case of the Next Gen Ranger here, we had to put braces in under the roller shutter itself to take the rack and the rooftop tent and the static load of us sleeping inside it. And then with the Rangers as well, you have to put in a J brace for extra support to take that load into the bottom of the tub. It's a little bit unnecessary in my opinion, but we won't get into that. Now when it comes to setting the tent up, you actually have two other bags that come with the kit as well. You get this long one here, and that has all the bows, all the supports that hold out the window hoods and the hood on the front opening of the tent itself. And now we'll get into this when we set the tent up, but there are actually two lengths of bows. I discovered that by accident, but you've got 4 short ones, 2 for the windows on either side, and then you've got 2 long ones which go on the front opening hood that comes out from this side here in the way we've got it mounted. It'll make it more sense when we get it all set up. Then you get a smaller bag, and this actually has these clear plastic windows in it. Now these are to actually put on the side windows to provide a little bit more protection if you're camping in real inclement weather. So if it's really, really hard rain and you just want that added bit of sealing and protection, you can actually put these clear windows on. But I think in most circumstances, most people won't use these. And then also, you'll note I mentioned it's got LED lighting inside. So it comes with a integrated LED strip light, and it's actually got a cable that's long enough that you could string it down and plug it into a dual battery system or something you've got in the tray. But I find it a lot easier and this is what I'll end up doing, is to carry around a little small power bank. You can run all your lighting off with it, you can charge your phone, all that sort of gear. Just pop it down in that pouch and store it in the rooftop tent so it's always there with you. It's easy to charge up and it makes life a lot easier. So I'm going to make up a little bit of a kit that you put in that bag, and that will just sit in the rooftop tent so that it's fairly self-sufficient and you don't need to remember to pack a whole pile of different bits and pieces that go with it. So you get also this little foot here that clips onto this adjustable bar. So it simply goes on just like this. And again, if you're camping in inclement weather, you put this bar in and that actually provides a little bit of extra slope on the roof to help the water drain off. This was really handy when I was camping the other night, where I went to go and do the full demonstration video and the weather changed. So I've actually got a little bit in the back end of this video on what it's like to camp in this in the rain, because that's something that a lot of people probably don't touch on. And to be honest, it was all pretty positive. The good thing is it's so quick to set up that when you get home, you can quickly pop it up and it's not a really big chore. Now, we come from a world of camper trailers. Even our Swan has a lot of canvas. And if you pack down in the rain, it's a real hassle because you've got to try to make sure everything inside doesn't get all wet. And then when you get home, you've got to put it all back out. But this, you just quickly pop the roof up, you can let it air dry, and it's really, really, really simple. So that's an extra bonus there that I was a little bit concerned about the amount of canvas that you get on this style, but in reality, I think it's pretty easy to deal with and not a big drama at all. So anyway, enough with the jibber jabber, let's get this thing set up, show you inside and all the features you got in there. So it's as easy as just flipping down these latches, and then you simply pop the roof up. Just like that. It's got two 600 Newton meter struts that pop this up really, really easy. Takes a little bit of effort to pull it down, but it means it's not going anywhere once it's in that upward position. Now you'll just notice this elastic strap here. This is in place to pull the canvas in when you fold it down to make it all nice and easy. We just release that, and where you've got a dual cab ute and you've got the cab on the other side, I tend to just tuck it down in behind the rear of the tub rack so that it's easy to access when you need to pull this back around to pack it away. So you just move it around, and then I just stash it down in behind here. You could secure it onto a little hook or something, but I find it's generally not going anywhere. And then when it comes time to pack down, you just pull it back out, swing it over, pulls all the canvas in and makes it a lot easier to pack down. This strap here we use to pull the roof back down. So I tend to just put it off to the rear side so it's not in the way, and you can tuck it in behind the clamshell of the rooftop tent itself. And then when you're ready to pack away, I'll show you, just pull it around and you're ready to pull the roof down, shut it all closed and hit the road. Now these rooftop tents also come with anti-condensation mats that sit between the 40mm high density foam mattress and the insulated floor underneath. And the aim of these is just to provide a little bit of air circulation so you don't get that condensation build up under the mattress itself. Now a number of people, even with camper trailers, often comment on condensation build up inside the canvas areas themselves. My number one tip and trick here is to leave the windows slightly open to allow a little bit of air ventilation through. It's generally the condensation build up from you breathing overnight that creates that moisture that you get around the top ceiling and the sides of the tent itself. So just make sure there's a little bit of air movement through, and you'll generally wake up all nice and dry, safe and sound, and with no dramas at all. But the anti-condensation mats are really, really good. They're built in. The mattress itself, I'll show you when we get inside, is actually quite comfortable. Being 40mm, it's not too thick, it's not too thin, and it works pretty well. It's right on the limit, but I think all these style rooftop tents are the same. If you like something reasonably hard, this will work well for you. I like to have a topper, particularly on the mattress inside our caravan. So for me, it's not too bad, but I've got a sore shoulder, and with a really poor mattress, I wake up with a bad shoulder. And in all the times I've been sleeping in this, it's been fine. So it ticks that box for me. It's actually not too bad to sleep on, which is quite surprising. And now you can see the hinges on either side and the two sections of floor with the mattress in between. The ladder sits on top, and we use the ladder to pull this section of floor up and over, which essentially erects the rest of the tent itself. Now another really nice feature is they give you this bag which slides in over the bottom of the ladder and acts like a sock. So if you've got all dirt and muck on there, you don't have to worry about it getting inside the tent itself. You simply slide this off when you get to site, undo the Velcro strip which secures the ladder into place. So it's literally a case of just pulling this ladder out to fully extend it. Then you use it as a lever, pull down the floor, and the bulk of your tent is all set up and in position. That's why you can do this in under a minute with no fuss at all. And obviously you don't want your ladder out on a huge angle like this. You want it to be more upright, because this in effect actually supports a portion of the floor. So it's a simple case of just clicking in these tabs, and you can adjust the ladder in to its correct position with no drama at all. It's then just a case of letting this out, And then once this is in position, you can just simply climb up and access the inside of the tent. There's really nothing else you need to do. However, you'll notice these floppy bits here. We do have a few bows to put in to actually make the entry canopy and the side windows. If you're on a quick trip and you're just packing up, setting down, packing up, setting down, you might be inclined just to leave it like this, but we'll put the bows on and I'll show you how easy that is as well. Now these hoods are really, really good. And you simply have these bows that go in. You've got two shorter ones that go on the side windows and then two longer ones on the front. You simply thread them through the eyelet like so, pop them into the clips underneath. Then we'll go and do the front ones and you'll see there's little pockets for the hook to go into. You simply slide it in, pull that back over and pop it into the slot underneath. There's a little bit of tension on it, but it's pretty easy to get in. Do the same with the second prop on the other side. And you're ready to put your bedding in and enjoy the rest of your stay away. So I'm actually really surprised by how easy it is to set this up. It literally only takes a minute. There's nothing much to it, and with all the canvas, it's a mechanism on how it works that makes it so efficient. There's a few little extras that they don't note in any of the literature, such as some utility hooks under the fold-out floor here. You've got those pockets that hang off the top, which are pretty standard, and it all works pretty well, to be honest. So while I've been using this in the backyard here and there, just testing it out, making sure I was sort of over how it all worked and comfortable with it, I set out to a hip camp just outside of Cooranbong at the base of the Wattigans. Beautiful little spot, a nice big open area with no one around, a little dam. It was really, really, really nice. So I'll take you through that and give you a bit of a guided tour inside and show you what that was all about. Welcome to my humble abode. So on the rear wall, you've got all these pockets you can store everything in. I've just got my little battery bank here with the USB outlet that runs up to the switch here for our lights. And these lights you can transition from off to bright white to orange, which is fantastic, and then to a warm light, which works well if you haven't got too many bugs around. There aren't too many bugs out here tonight, so I might leave it at a warm light. But if we had a lot of mozzies, I'd put it back to the orange light. You've got your struts that come down here and the little safety spaces we put on so that the roof can't collapse even in strong wind. You've got another safety rod that runs up through the middle here. And look at that view. You're up nice and high so you can just peer out and enjoy the serenity. But while you're in here, you've got these great open windows with fly screen mesh. You can roll up the canvas all the way up, and you can even put the clear plastic sheeting over the top of it in real inclement weather. But you can see here the hood hanging out. That gives you a lot of weather protection. And again, it lets a lot of air in through these openings. And on the other side, you can see my little makeshift hood that goes out over the roof of the Ranger. But again, that allows the air ventilation in through this window, keeps it all nice and cool. One thing I haven't shown here is that there's a big skylight that you can open up. So you can see the stars at night time, but you'd want to make sure you close this up before you go to sleep because it's going to wake you up. But this is all blackout canvas. So it keeps it nice and dark early in the morning, so you're not getting woken up by the bright sunshine. It makes it a pretty nice place to be in the morning. But at the end of the day, it's just nice being able to wake up and look out at that view. And this is about as simple as it gets. I've got a nice little fire, I'm starting to get going here, cooking my dinner, having a beer. I've got my bed all made up, We've got the fridge over here, a few little bits and pieces in the back of the ute. It's nice, simple, easy, ready to go in the morning, and you can go and explore wherever you want. It's a really, really nice setup. Got my cool little lights down around the bottom here, which just add that little bit of atmosphere. But it is supposed to rain tonight, so we'll see how we go. But I'm getting back onto my dinner, gonna enjoy a few beers, listen to a bit of music, just sit out here and relax. So I'll catch you in the morning and let you know how it goes. Cheers. Well, good morning everybody. Now it hasn't turned out quite the way I planned because it's been raining since about 1 o'clock this morning. As you can see, everything's all nice and wet, and I was hoping for a nice sunny morning so I could do a nice intro, run through everything, keep it all nicey nice. But this is a really good opportunity because obviously everything got quite wet and the rooftop tent held up incredibly well. So I thought it'd be a great opportunity to go through a few of the things that I've noticed in regards to camping in the rain with these rooftop tents. It's a good thing, so don't be too concerned, but there's a few little features that worked incredibly well. So let's go into it. So obviously you've got the main canvas tent feature here. The hoods actually sheet off a fair bit of water so it doesn't get onto the wall of the tent so much. And then you've obviously got this fly that runs over the top. And because of the shape of it, most of the water does seem to drain down off through the sides. Now, if you've got a dual cab ute that you're putting it on, which most people would, just be aware that you will get some water falling down underneath the tent, particularly between the rear of the tent and the cab itself. So if you've got stuff in there that you don't want to get wet, I have my chair in there, it got a little bit wet last night. That's probably something just to be looking out for if you go to bed and you know it's going to be raining. But the good thing about this hood here is that it kept all the canvas at the opening completely dry. So obviously we didn't have driving rain coming in, but that kept everything in there super dry. So when I came out this morning, I could get out. I didn't have to worry about peeling open that wet piece of canvas and putting it all inside. So that worked incredibly well. Obviously things like the pockets hanging down here, they're probably going to get a little bit wet, so it'd be a good idea if you've got stuff stored in these just to take them inside. But again, the hood itself hangs out past these areas, so if you haven't got driving rain, these are all dry. There's nothing wrong with them at all, and if I had stuff in these pockets, they'd probably be fine. So it's just a few little things to note there, but it held up really, really well. It is super dry inside and I've got no complaints at all. Well, it's not really showing any signs of clearing up anytime soon. So I've packed everything away inside the rooftop tent, that is. Still got to put everything outside away. And we're going to pack this down. Now my number one tip here, which I think will work quite well, all the seams are sealed really well in these rooftop tents, is to zip everything up. Then just collapse it down as you normally would. Cross your fingers and we'll meet you back at home to finish this video off. Now I'm back from my interesting trip away. As you can see, I've set the tent back up, just giving it an air dry, and I'm filming the rest of the video while we're back here at home, which isn't as nice, and it is a little bit disappointing because I wanted to do a real cool special video in the morning with the sun on the tent and stuff like that. But the really good news is it is bone dry in here. It is fantastic. There's no water or moisture ingress anywhere. And this is something that we've dealt with for years and years and years with camper trailers and stuff like that, is that you do tend to have a little bit of water week through onto your bedding and bits and pieces when you pack it all down, when it's pouring rain like what we did, and it's quite wet. But it's actually stood up pretty well. I think because the seams are all sealed really, really nicely, and because I shut all the windows and all the canvas sections, it's kept this mattress really, really dry, which is quite impressive really. So I'm happy with that. Just going to open up the windows now, let a bit of air go through it just in case there is a little bit of moisture somewhere where I can't see it. So I'm really impressed with how dry that stayed inside. But because those seams are all sealed, it made a huge difference. So now it's the easy bit, it's just packing it all down. A lot of people cringe with the pack down because it's often a lot slower than the set up. But really, the pack down on this is just as quick as setting it up. We simply release the bows off all the hoods, and now we're ready to pack the bottom section of floor down in, which essentially collapses the rest of the tent down. It's a simple case of just picking the ladder up, pushing this up and over. Just let the air escape out of it as you're going. And then you simply collapse the ladder back in by pressing in these tabs at the bottom. And the ladder slides all out of the way. It's just a simple case of Velcroing it back down, putting the bag back over the feet like a little sock. I tend to just pull the canvas in around, and then if you remember this elastic strap, you simply grab that from down the back of the cabin, pull it in, tie in the canvas, and then we can pull the roof down. Lock it into place, and then you grab these two straps, move it around, and we can now really easily pull the roof down. Same thing, just let the air come out of it a little bit. And then once it's at this position, you can pull it all down. But I'll generally go around, do a little bit of a check, pull a little bit of canvas up, tuck it in under the shell itself, so it's not hanging down and getting all dirty and wet. So you just do the final little shove, fix your latches on, secure them into place, and you're ready to go. So there you have it. What are my final thoughts? Well, I was a little bit apprehensive about the amount of canvas on this particular rooftop tent, but as I've said a number of times, the efficiency in that it sets up and packs down makes a world of difference in this sort of situation. It works extremely well on the back of the ute, and I don't really want to go any higher. I don't want to have a big rooftop tent that's taking up a whole heap of clearance over the top of the roof. So for us, this gets it down nice and low. It could even go a little bit lower, to be honest, but at the moment it's nice being able to walk underneath it. And I think it's going to open up a lot of opportunity for us. As I said at the start, I want to start going out and doing some camping trips with the boys. We can take them out on a Friday afternoon, come back on a Sunday, we go out in the bush. We could even, in this setup, take the bikes with us and do a bit of mountain bike riding and stuff like that, because we can put the bike rack onto the tow ball at the back. So for me, it's just opening up a whole new world where we got away from all the tent camping and stuff like that. And as we're evolving, the boys are getting a little bit older, for some reason we're getting back into that. So I'm going to have a setup where we can take a few swags, we can have a nice little camp set up with a bushfire, keep everything all nice and simple with cooking and stuff like that, and really enjoy the time out in the bush. It opens up the opportunity to do a little bit of beach camping where you're up off the ground and anywhere where you've got some nice views. And that's one thing I do like about the Swan. You're up nice and high, you've got all those openings that you can look out and really enjoy where you're camping. And this is like that, as opposed to a caravan where you're sort of stuck inside a box, even though you've got a fair few windows and stuff like that. And don't forget, as I also mentioned, you could be touring around with a caravan or a camper trailer, set that up as a base, and then you've got the rooftop tent you can take out and do some more remote exploring. You don't have to rush back, you can just camp away in your rooftop tent and just enjoy the experience of wherever you're at. The quality of it, I'm really happy about. It all seems to work really well. Obviously it didn't leak in the rain, so that was a really good test. I love the fact that it's got the full aluminium cap on it rather than the fiberglass or plastic that a lot of the other models have. The roof racks are an added bonus. The fact that it's got that integrated lighting strip inside. It's just those really small little things that make a big difference to how you experience and use these kind of products. I think they actually need to bring out a 180 or 270 awning combination that will go with these rooftop tents, and that would really make the product range that they've got with all their off-road accessories, camping products, everything that they've got in store. It would be a one-stop shop if they had the awnings available to go with all that as well. So I'm sure they'll be watching and they've probably got all that sorted. It's on their list of things to bring into their product range, but I think that would really complement these rooftop tents because they're a really good bit of gear.